You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today, we're going to continue and probably conclude the State versus Scott Peterson Scorched, y'all. Scorched. And it's from both sides. And I will be getting to some more things that I believe the prosecution messed up. And if they had scorched, if they hadn't scorched these things, we wouldn't even be talking about this asshole. And so we're going to get into it. And also, I have been gone. I recorded 4 episodes before Scott Peterson did his Jailhouse interview on the latest documentary that came out. We'll talk about that briefly. And I think it's just another pile of shit, but it is what it is. But I was going and working on the new case for a new series that's coming out on November 1. And I'm not going to say the victim's name yet, but it's going to be #Justice4. And I'm going to have the victim's name. Boots on the ground in Atlanta. This family's hurting, as all families are in cold cases. And just having like I said in previous episodes, Miss Stephanie and them had, being Courtney Coco's mom, had the best case file I've ever had on working a cold case. But it was old, right? From, early 2000s. And this case file is recent and it has all the things where Stephanie's case file had everything, notes or reports. This file has everything from videos of the original crime scene to interrogations to, oh God, it's so much, just crazy shit. But we're going to need y'all's help on that. So stay tuned for that coming November 1. I believe that's a Friday. That is the date. And let's get back into Scott Peterson and the fascination again with this case. I never got it because I never really paid attention to it. And probably the most requested case you lifers have asked me to look into over the years. And when I started to, I couldn't get out of it. But to be fair, I mean, it's just, you heard me say a lot of Scott. That's Scorched, Scott. That's Scorched. Well, you're going to hear some from the other side today, and maybe we'll get through it. But I love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Hopefully you made it through the hurricane okay. You'll be getting this one Saturday. Patreon, convicts, Apple subscribers, you will, of course, be getting a commercial-free early release as soon as it's been produced. So let's roll with it. When I left you last, I told you about Amber Frey. And y'all, I know I said her name as Frey some of the times, but that's just me being me. But it's definitely Amber Frey, right? And the police had her do a press conference where she tells the whole world that she's been having an affair with Scott and that he lied to her. Now, the funniest thing about that was Scott, for whatever reason, of course, he saw the press conference, and then he continued to talk to Amber Frey for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I said it before and I'll say it again, they fucked that up. They try to say that the National Choir had learned of the relationship and was going to release information. And that's why they got Amber Frey to come out and say what they said. But man, you just absolutely if I was the defense attorney, there's no way in hell you can make me believe that you're looking at anyone other than my client, Scott Peterson. The problem with that is they were still getting tips, and I'm going to tell you about some of them. And they were learning things that needed to be looked at, not because they were going to be proven true or whatever, but just because you have to exhaust all of these. You have to be prepared for a good defense attorney to hammer you on that. And even if they don't, then it's certainly going to be brought up on appeals. And these are things that could have been simply avoided if they hadn't been scorched. All right. So, back to Amber Frey, and I'm going to skip around a little bit. She ultimately got the attorney, Gloria Allred, who's pretty much been the mouthpiece for every high-profile female that's ever filed suit or been in the media or whatever over the years. And when she heard of Amber's case, she took it on and said, hey, she needs an attorney too. Of course, she took it on pro bono, and she, coached Amber on how to act and what to say. And, of course, Gloria's motive naturally is the free publicity that the whole world knows her name even more now after this case. But it doesn't change the fact that, Scott did all the things I told you about with Amber Frey. And I mean, it's just, come on, man. He just fucked it up. Now, if I was him and she did a press conference and I didn't know about it, I'd be fuck if I'm going to keep talking to you. But then anything after that, they were wasting their time. I mean, Scott's not dumb. He's not the world's smartest criminal, but he's not dumb. He's not going to tell her on the phone, even though when she confronted him about it, and he's like, I can't answer that right now. And she was like, you told me you lost your wife, and not that she had disappeared or what have you. And he says, well, there's different kinds of losses, right? Not good, Scott. But anyway, so we're going to get into the trial today, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about Amber Frey's testimony. And she really did a great job, y'all. That up until the time that she took the stand, I absolutely believe he would have walked on not being guilty, to be honest, a shadow of a doubt. But anyway, she did a good job, and she held it together. She did a good job of telling jury that she wasn't there to say whether or not Scott killed Lacey and Connor. She was simply there to explain what she knew and her role as it possibly pertained to her being a motive, meaning Scott wanted out of the marriage, right, and didn't want a kid. And I mean, she did well on cross-examination, and she came across as just a likable, honest girl or lady who had been tricked by Scott Peterson, and not like the homewrecker that the media, sensation after that interview she gave painted her as. And again, Scott kept telling Amber things during the recorded conversations after that press conference. And one of the things he told her was, he said, "Hey, baby, I want to tell you the whole story, but I can't." Right. And I don't know if this is because he knew he was being surveilled or he didn't want to tell Amber that, the real truth. Okay. All right. Back up on timeline a little bit. The, December 31st, that's when they were holding the vigil for Lacey, and Scott's doing the call and acting like he's in Paris. He's on the phone for 70 minutes and all that with Amber, the whole time, pumping up this story. Well, and Scorched, right? And the Scott just hit and it's just crazy. And of course that's Scorched. Now, let's talk about the burglary across the street at the Medina house. On January 2nd, a guy named Stephen Todd and Donald Pierce were arrested for that burglary. And this is where the fucking police really fucked this up. We wouldn't even be talking about this case. And of course, I always say there's no such thing as coincidence, right? And I don't know, man. It's bad. If I was on the jury and this had been presented in the way it should have been presented by the defense, you can't say, right? Everything they have is circumstantial, and it looks bad. It looks scorched for Scott. But these people burglarizing his home, in their timeline, they said that they did it, or the police, arrested them, and they were in the timeline. They said they did it. It just couldn't have been true because the media was camped outside Scott's house, and the fucking house was right across the street. So when they were arrested, one of them immediately said, "We didn't touch that pregnant girl." Right? Now, what meth head follows the news? Now, I guess if I had burglarized the house the morning of her disappearance, and I heard about it, a couple of days later, and maybe I would have watched it on the news because, I would recognize the address. I don't know. It's just crazy. All right, well, so they're arrested, and they, say they didn't do it. And guess what? The cops changed their timeline and the timeline they changed it to, they couldn't have been there because the media was there. It just doesn't fit. So that's one part for me that is Scorched on the cops. I don't know. They should have done something different. We're going to get into this jailhouse phone call in a minute, but that's just crazy. But let's go back to Scorched on Scott for a second. So on January 5th, the 6th, and the 9th. Now remember, she goes missing on December 24th. Scott, on 3 different occasions, okay, he rented a vehicle and drove to the Berkeley Marina. Now this is where he said he went fishing, right? And this is where they're looking for Lacey and Connor's bodies, right? Rental vehicles. And he would drive there and he'd get out of his car and he'd look around. But he had never, looking at the water, right? Never more than 2 minutes, all right? Now, what he didn't know is his ass was being followed. The cops had him under surveillance, right? 24-hour surveillance there. And how the fuck do you not know that? But he didn't know. But now look, this is 90 miles or something away. It's an hour and a half at least. And you're going to rent vehicles to go out there and then get out and just look around, see what's going on, and get back in your shit. No way. And the police observed Scott making these trips to 3 different times. Well, 2 of them were in 2 different rental cars. And Scott's supporters have always said that he did this to look for witnesses who may have seen him at the marina that day. Bullshit. If you're going to drive all that distance, get out and look around for a couple minutes and look at the water, look at what's going on, and then drive away, whatever. The police naturally believe that Scott was looking to see if Lacey's body had surfaced. And Scott's family says that he had to rent these cars for work. Well, one time, one of the rental cars was a truck, all right? You know, he's a fertilizer salesman. But the other two times he rented a Lincoln Town Car, y'all. A Lincoln Town Car. And, you know, are you selling fertilizer out of the trunk of your Lincoln Town Car? I mean, the trunk, I understand maybe the truck, but not driving to where, I mean, if you were in the area, maybe getting out and looking because you're concerned about your wife. This is a wife whose cell phone he never called, and he never even reported her to police. Not even after all this time. I can't get past that. So in, you know, the rental cars, maybe he could say that he didn't want the media seeing them or whatever. I don't know, bro, but that's just suspicious as fuck. And again, he went to the marina on the 5th, the 6th, and the 9th of January. Now, let's get into some more score shit on Scott first. Around January 14th, Scott tried to sell their house. Okay? Lacey hadn't been found yet. Connor's got a nursery that they were in the process of setting up. It had a little cute, you know, boat steering wheel on the wall and was painted and blue and all that. And fuck it, your wife hadn't even been found. Your unborn son hadn't even found, but you sell their home? This is only, 18 days, less than 3 weeks after she goes missing. That's pretty fucking crazy, Scott. And he asked the realtors to keep it out of the press. He wanted the house sold as is. Scorched, Scott. Now, at the same time he was doing this with the realtors, he refused to give Lacey's family, the Rocha family, any of Lacey's belongings, such as her wedding dress, her diary, or anything, any of her home decor, right? Eventually, Sharon, Lacey's mom, broke into the house to get what she wanted. And guess what? Scott never filed any charges against her. Okay. Don't understand, Scotty. January 17th, 2003. And this is kind of neither here nor there, but it is more circumstantial evidence. The police found out that Scott had 2 other affairs prior to the affair with Amber Frey. While he's married to Lacey, y'all. So, there you go. I don't know. But January 24th is when Lacey's family said, fuck you, Scott. I mean, they didn't say that, but they held a public press conference and said, we are no longer supporting Scott. We were withdrawing our support for Scott, right? And that's the same day that Amber Frey announced the relationship with Scott publicly at that conference. And, you know, I don't know. January 28, 2003. And once Amber had held the press conference and told the whole freaking world that Scott had been lying and cheating and the whole 9 yards, Scott goes into oh shit mode. Now, up until this time, he had been hiding. Remember, the candlelight vigil was even at when they had the command center at the hotel and all this. He was always ducking out of the cameras. Now, it could be said that was because he didn't want Amber to see him on TV, right? Whatever reason, he was ducking it. But now, all of a sudden, he decides he wants to do news interviews. And so he picked out 2 local TV personalities, and he did one with Diane Sawyer. And this comes up in the trial. This comes up everywhere that Diane Sawyer is no rookie, okay? And she ripped Scott up, and he got caught in a lie, and he's just like, well, you know, stumbled on his words and made him look shady as fuck or scorched, right? And they said that during these interviews, right before they would start rolling or whatever, he was, kind of nonchalant and just not worried about shit, and not like the distressed husband should be. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of an LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser-cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdowns scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had. And this Scorched in February, Lacey's family is told by the Modesto Police Department that all the family members are cleared except for Scott. And you know that shit is going to get to the defense and discovery. It's the Brady rule, right? And again, that gives the defense attorney ammunition that, hey, you could have been her stepdad that did it. It could have been, whatever. You quit. You were only looking at Scott, which is true, but they shouldn't have fucking done that, right? All right, but the the van in the robbery across the street. The lady said it was whatever color, and then she came back to a tan colored van and brown individuals, not black. So in comes a tip. This is where it's scorched, y'all, on the prosecution side. So this was on the same day as the search warrant on Scott's house. A woman called a rape crisis line to report that she was sexually assaulted or raped a week or so prior to Lacey's disappearance. Now, she had claimed that she was abducted by a group of people in a brown van who assaulted her as part of a satanic ritual. And they also told her they were going to commit a Christmas murder and that she would read about it in the papers. Now, this woman never made a police report that we know of, but the rape counselor turned this information over to the Modesto Police Department. And evidently they looked into this part. The police found the people in the van in question and they processed it for evidence, but no evidence of any crime was found in the van. Now, when the police were done with the vehicle, the family never came back for it, and the lawyer for Peterson buys the van, I guess under the pretense that, this was going to be the smoking gun and this was where the crime happened or whatever. But they never found anything in it or used the van at the trial, which led everybody to believe that it didn't have any value. But this is, hey, come on, man. The defense on that, the smoke and mirrors, possibly, the cops needed to explain that. Okay, you need to explain it better than that. You need to find this lady. Now, look, when you work cases like this, a lot of them, these calls you get in are bullshit. She could have heard it was a tan van and the robbers and all that. But the very fact that she called it in, you have to handle that shit because you don't want it to come back at trial and scorch your ass as a cop and then say, oh, what about the report of the rape? And they told the lady that they were going to do a Christmas murder, and that you read about in the papers. Well, didn't that happen? Even if they didn't find any evidence in the van, find this woman. They've got to be a way to find her. And I mean, if she's wacko, prove it and exclude this whole theory. This van should have never, ever, the lawyer should have never had a chance to get it. They should have never had a chance to even have an attempt to bring it up to be an alternative theory to Scott murdering Lacey and Connor, right? But they didn't do anything with it. But you bet your ass it's been brought up on appeals. All right, back to the burglary and the burglars at the Medina house. This is called the Ponte tip. Now, there's a lieutenant who worked at the jail, and his name was Aponte, and they monitor jail phone calls, y'all. I mean, it's big ass fucking signs on any jail you get, any jail you're in that you go to talk on. It says these phone calls will be monitored or may be monitored for whatever. And we've got so many good arrests off of dumbasses talking on the phone. Well, this lieutenant is checking the phones, right? This is his job. And he overhears a prisoner named Sean speaking to his brother Adam about Lacey confronting them outside the Medina house on the 24th. All right. Now this is the dude that ultimately gets arrested for it, right? And Adam was, when Aponte is monitoring the calls and he hears this, he immediately starts to record the call. Good job for him, right? And Adam was telling Sean that Lacey walked up while Stephen Todd was doing the burglary. And Todd made some type of verbal threat to Lacey. Now, Sean tells Adam, shut the fuck up, stop talking, right? And because we're on the jailhouse phone. Now, Lieutenant Aponte, what does he do? He reports it to the Modesto Police Department. right? He calls him and says, hey, I got a jailhouse phone call here. They are talking about the day of the 24th, the van across the street from her house, and that Lacey confronted him, as any good neighbor would have. You know your neighbor's gone, and if she did go out to walk that dog, and if she went out to walk Mackenzie, and she would have confronted him. Like, hey, what are you doing there? And this dude's saying that in fact, yeah, he saw Todd make a verbal threat to Lacey, and then Shaw says, "Shut the fuck up," and rightfully so, it's reported, but he didn't hear anything back from him. How in the fuck, the Scorched police, how the fuck don't you follow this up? And the sense, then, let me finish this. He didn't hear back from them, so he waits and then he calls them back a couple of times. This is a lieutenant in a jailhouse call. I mean, he's saying, hey, I heard this, right? Ultimately, they met him, and he gave them a tape of the conversation. But guess what? There's no report about this, and there's no copy of the tape. And Lieutenant Aponte doesn't remember who he gave the tape to. All right. Biggest Scorched part of this whole case for me. And I told you, the van, the burglary, those people being gone. We know it's a legit burglary. All this is not made up shit. They got home, and by this time Lacey's missing. Their safe is gone. They arrest these assholes. First thing one of them says is, we didn't have anything to do with that pregnant girl, right? And then you get a jailhouse conversation recorded where they're talking about one of the suspects confronting or making a verbal threat to Lacey. After Lacey confronts them, she walks up and then he makes a verbal threat. Conversation is cut off. And Lieutenant, rightfully so, tried to turn it over, crickets, and Scorched, and then ultimately turns it over, and there's no report. Listen, the first thing they teach you as a cop, if you don't fucking write it down, it didn't happen. All right? It did not happen. And it makes it even worse. The tape that he turned over, can't find it. And that to me is the single most Scorched thing in this case. And this is not something that, I know they're focused on Scott, and look, it looks so fucking bad for the dude, and I get that, and he's Scorched all the way around, but you will never make me believe that these burglars, first of all, I know they weren't there the day they changed their date to or whatever, because the news media was camped out 24 hours. So it had to happen before then, right? And it's a proven fact when the Medinas left the house. It's a proven fact when Lacey went missing. And it's a proven fact that these fuckers didn't commit the burglary when the news media was there. So it has to fit on the timeline. And they're talking about, they're having a conversation with Lacey on the 24th. But ultimately, no one gets to hear it. No one gets to hear the tape conversation. And then why don't they go sweat these dudes, right? I would have my balls on your fucking forehead if I had this information. You know why? Because I still believe, and would believe in my heart that Scott did it at this point. I'm looking at him, riding him hard, but this is going to be the number one with the bullet for this motherfucker to walk free. And you got to sweat these bitches and get the right juice out of them. Now, I think they think that they did by getting them to change the date. And then, man, you wouldn't even be talking about this case if they had not fucked this up, if they had not Scorched it. It would not be an issue. That motherfucker would have got convicted so hard, he wouldn't be doing a jailhouse interview 20 years after his wife and unborn baby were found. This is crazy. I don't know. Let's continue. On the same day, on December 24th, this is scorched as fuck, y'all. And I saw the different interviews with the detectives after all these years later on the different, whatever you call them, documentaries. And they're like, oh, they just kind of shrugged this off. But on the day Lacey went missing, the same day before they changed the story, that the van was there and she supposedly confronted the robbers, there were over 12 reported sightings of people in the area seeing a woman that they believed to be Lacey walking on December 24th. And every one of them described as seeing a woman with a white shirt and black pants, just as the flyers had described. Now, the cops, what do you do about it? They didn't pay attention to most of these witnesses because their time frames were somewhat off. Now, and there was a confusion on the day with some of them evidently, and the police just didn't give it any juice, right? Okay. The police absolutely failed by not interviewing each of them. It like Scott Peterson wasn't even a suspect. They should have taken the time to validate or invalidate these sightings. And look, I saw some of them, the one lady looking out her kitchen window, seeing Lacey walking with the dog, another, not elderly couple, probably my age now, seeing her on the corner like she was struggling with a dog, and the dude's like, they never even talked to me. He said, I called it in and I saw her and she was big pregnant, and I thought maybe she's going to get hit by a car or something, right? I mean, the one that I think was working at the hospital was taking a smoke break outside, sees her walking in the park right in the area where she normally walked. Now, could they have gotten the days wrong? Possibly, but they're adamant that this was the date that they saw Lacey, and they should have gone back. You've got to go. If this one person gives you information, you can't just be like, well, do you look out there every day? Are you sure it was the 24? Couldn't it have been the 25th? You can always play a possible witness like that, but you do, right? And if they change the story, okay, you don't give them as much credence, but you don't just stop there. You go to their neighbor. You go to the neighbor to the right and the neighbor to the left. You go, and I've done this. We've set up roadblocks in places on investigations at the same time where the crime occurred and stopped every motherfucking vehicle coming through at that time or around that time of day and say, hey, do you come through here every day? And if they do, you say, well, did you see this such and such on any day? Right. And I mean, there's so much more that could have been and should have been done. It's scorched as fuck on the cops between this jailhouse call, the burglary, and them not investigating these 12 reported sightings further. All right. Wouldn't be talking about Scott Peterson at all. He'd be a fucking murderer and wife murderer and child murderer, and he wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Just wouldn't happen, and I understand being focused, man, but you've got to follow every lead as if it was the hottest lead until you run that lead out of juice. And you can't just run it out of juice in the first couple of seconds when you know this is something, if these people are correct, if one of them is correct on seeing Lacey on the 24th, and remember the dog's at home with the collar still on it. And even though her friend said she hadn't been walking because she was so pregnant and all that, if even one of them's correct, right? Even if part of this jailhouse call is correct, and like them saying it was the 24th and Lacey confronted him and then the guy made a threat and it gets cut off, what do you do? If part of that's correct, you're fucked. And this case ain't going to trial because you can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt that she wasn't abducted by these guys, and that she didn't go out on her walk and come back in. Maybe she went out, decided she was having a good day that day, and she wanted to walk Mackenzie. And then she was feeling bad because she was so pregnant, and like that old couple saw her on the side of the street, struggling or whatever. And maybe she goes back and she confronts the burglars and gets taken. I mean, that's fucking plausible. Yeah, the chances that somebody is there, I'm not saying it can't happen, but the chances that someone is there robbing the house right in the time frame where she went missing in the van, and then the satanic thing, I think that's that lady saying, I'm not saying that she wasn't raped or whatever, but her saying about they're going to commit a Christmas murder and all that bullshit. I think that's probably whatever. But you put it all together, what do you have? A defense, right? You got a defense, and you got a pretty fucking good one. I'm gonna tell you that. And it's scorched, right? All right. Well, y'all, sadly, on April 13th, 2003, Connor's body is found. Okay. And there was a couple that were walking their dog, and they found the decomposing body of a full-term male infant in a marshy area of the San Francisco Bay Shore. And the umbilical cord was still attached, and it appeared torn rather than cut or clamped. And Connor is found with twine around his neck and tape on his ear. Okay. That presents problems nationally, both ways. It presents real problems for Scott. They have the first body. It could, defense-wise, with anything being on his body, naturally the defense is going to say, and him being found by himself, the defense is going to throw up whatever kind of theories. Well, the next day, and now they know where Connor was found, and the next day on April 14th, 2003, Lacey's torso washes up on the eastern shoreline of the bay, 1 mile away from where baby Connor was found. And her body, or corpse, I should say, was so decomposed, and was decomposed to the point of being unrecognizable, and barnacles were growing on it. The head, arms, and legs were missing, and she was wearing tan maternity pants and a bra. Now, that throws shade on what Scott says Lacey was wearing, the black pants, and that would go back and throw shade on all 12 of the people who saw her wearing black pants and the white maternity top, because she's found in tan pants. But it doesn't mean she wasn't murdered and the pants weren't changed. There's all kinds of fucking different ways you can do it, right? But now they're found, and now it's game on, right? You got the bodies. Certainly you're going to bring them in for autopsy. Well, on Lacey's case, I mean, her head, arms, and legs are missing. Now, you would think this, the defense is going to paint this some diabolical scheme where, people held her. Of course, they're going to do this, and I'm going to tell you about it. Where and held her, and that Connor was born later than or was died later than the 24th, or and all this shit, and they throw up all these theories hoping something will stick. I'm going to tell you why Lacey's body parts were missing. Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have hormone harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey, y'all. Changing my wardrobe from summer to fall, it's never easy. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. And there's nothing easier than going to Quince and choosing these high-quality items, like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes, and I love that. I got the stainless steel Link Apple Watch band for $59.90. It's heavy duty, it's awesome, and it's like $100 less than I could find anywhere else. And I also got a 100% organic cotton fisherman quarter zip up sweater. The color is alabaster. Man, I can't wait to wear that this fall. And Cindy got the Mongolian cashmere boat neck sweater in heather gray. And I'm telling you, these are classic pieces at a fraction of the price. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/RLRC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/RLRC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/RLRC. You'll thank me later. Remember the 4 cement anchors? Every mobster movie, and from the black and white ones back in the day to the current ones, etc., they talk about cement boots, right? Or weighing a body down with cement. And you know what? That'll be fine. That'll absolutely be fine until it's not. No matter what, that body's going to pop up. Okay, because it does not matter how good you think. If you got an anchor around the neck and an anchor around the legs and an anchor around each arm or anchor around each leg and our arms are tied and anchor around that, sooner or later, as your body decomposes, it fills with gases, and the gases, your body naturally gets soft, and the gases are going to rip your body free, and you're going to float to the surface. Cement shoes, cement anchors, none of that shit works, people. And you ask, why was it in April? So that's December to January to February, March, April, 4 months. You got to take into account the temperature of the water and the temperature of the air outside. The hotter it is, the faster the body will decompose, fill up with gas, and rip itself free. This water, I mean, it's not like they have icebergs in San Francisco Bay, but that water's cold year-round, period. And this is in the coldest time of the year. So what happens? It starts to warm up, and you get to almost the middle of April, and they wash ashore. All right. It's fucked up. All right. That, well, when you find the bodies, first thing you got to do is identify them naturally, and which they rush to do. But when you find the bodies, you've been telling this asshole, Scott Peterson, for so long, the cops have, et cetera. And, they had put a tracker on his car and all that. And, cause if you truly believe that he's a murderer and you don't have enough to arrest him, if he goes out and commits another crime, another murder, which in this case he probably never would have, but he goes out and commits another murder, then technically you can be held liable. You've got, I don't know, that's kind of an iffy spot, but they did their job on surveilling him and following him. Okay. And now they got the bodies, and the detectives, Brocchini and Bueller and, whatever, they're like, oh fuck, it's game time. Right. And so then now they're really following him and watching him. And Scott is down in San Diego. Okay. And he is going to go play golf with his family members. I think his brother and his dad. And he's talking to his brother on the phone, and he thinks he's being followed by the media. Not the media, y'all. It's the cops. And he's hauling ass. He's running red lights. He's running stop signs. He's doing this. He's doing that. Well, you know what? You're in San Diego, and I was just there last week with my beautiful baby granddaughter. You're in San Diego. You're right on the border, right? And guess what? As everybody knows by now, Scott had dyed his hair blonde and grew the infamous goatee and mustache. And, that maybe he's saying he wants to avoid the media or whatever. If I'm the detective on the case, I'm thinking the bitch is getting ready to run. And he's praying those bodies are never found, because he hadn't been charged yet. If they don't find bodies, then they're never going to charge him, right? And so ultimately, he goes towards the golf course, and the cops are like, fuck it, we got to pull him over. We think he's going to run, what have you. And they get him, they stop him. Of course, like I told you, he has the dyed hair, and he had, some reports say it was over $10,000 cash. Some say he had $15,000 cash on him, and he had 4 cell phones. He had his brother's ID, and I saw a picture of ID, and they look very much alike. And there were, later on, he comes out and says, "Oh yeah, I had my brother's ID because I was using it for a discount at a golf store." Okay, whatever. Whereas his brother was a member of, or whatever. But they also found in the car a knife, survival gear, a tent, a shovel, water purifying equipment, a gun, and Viagra, and all of his clothes. And he says he was going, he may have been going to golf, and he may have been staying in San Diego where his family members were living or whatever, but you were that close to the fucking border, and of course the cops are going to say you're disguised, and the defense is going to say you're just hiding from the media. The $15,000 cash, that fucking looks scorched as fuck, right? If you're going to run, you need money. And it's this great fallacy that people say, they broke out of jail, they must be headed for Mexico. Well, motherfucker, it takes money to go to Mexico. You can live for a moment in Mexico on $15,000 cash, but you got to have money, right, to hide. But the $15,000 cash, when he claimed his mom accidentally took it out of the bank. What the fuck? He also had some pesos, y'all, Mexican currency on him. But come on, man. The brother's ID, you look almost alike. Okay, possibly you were going to use it at a discount at a golf store. And you know what? This is some months later still, right? That's your fucking wife still missing, dude. And your unborn baby, your son, is missing. And you going to go play golf? And evidently had been playing golf and ordering porn and all this other shit. I don't know, y'all. So they arrested him. And the detective said, of course, when you arrest somebody out of jurisdiction, you got a warrant out of your jurisdiction and you arrest them in another jurisdiction. Like in this case, you have to book them into San Diego first on the warrant. And when they were loading up to leave, they had, one of the detectives said something about eating, back to his hair, it was a fucking dyed. Look at the pictures. It's obviously bleached, right? And hair and the beard. You know what he told people? He said it got bleached by pool water. Motherfucker, I got a swimming pool and my shit don't bleach. It's still gray as fuck on the side and black on top. But, so anyway, they're getting ready. They got him booked in and they're getting ready to make the drive back to Modesto. And the detective's like, I'm going to stop and get something to eat, right? At an In-N-Out burger. And no, Scott asked him, so where are you going to stop at? And he said, an In-N-Out burger. Scott says, they said that the detective said this in his own words. He said, Scott, nonchalantly, you're under arrest for the murder of your son and your wife, and you've been booked in. Now you're going back to Modesto to face the music, if you will. And he says very calmly, he says, I'll take a double with cheese and a small fry and a vanilla milkshake. The last thing I'm worried about doing when, if I've just been arrested and booked on my wife and son's murder, the last thing I'm worried about doing is eating. Scott, that's scorched as fuck, and they end up bringing him back to Modesto. And on April the 21st, 2003, Scott Peterson is charged by the state of California with 2 counts of double murder. 2 counts of murder, right? For murdering Lacey, his wife, his unborn son, Connor. April 21st, 2003. State versus Peterson. And I'm going to stop it from there, y'all, because I really want to get into the court stuff, but it's there. And I'm certainly not going to read all of it, but there's a lot of shit that comes out, a lot of stuff that I have that's not in these documentaries. I'm going to tell you about these documentaries. I didn't know it until after looking into them, because there's several now, that I think 3, but I'm listening to one way now, and then it's kind of giving it from, like, say, Lacey's side, right? And then where Scott's the bad guy, and then I'm listening another way, and this one seems to be like more favorable towards Scott. And then you get the fucking Jailhouse late one that when I was in Atlanta working on this cold case that comes out. Holy fuck, are you kidding me? First time in 20 years, and you give this interview, and they pumped it up. It's on Peacock, I think. They pumped it up. This is going to be the biggest thing. Well, let me back it up. Now, as you know, he's got the LA Innocence Project working his shit, and now he decides to do a Jailhouse interview. Coincidence? I don't think so. But they pump up this whole fucking show, and I bet you the whole thing wasn't 5 or 6 minutes of Scott Peterson's interview. The rest of it was the same shit from a biased, in my opinion, a biased view for Scott. Fact. And 20 years hadn't been kind to him in jail, as it shouldn't be, for a man. Well, fuck it, he's off of death row. But for a wife and baby murder, it shouldn't be kind. But man, I don't know. It's just bad. But I don't know. But I got a lot more to tell you about and the stuff that. Oh, back to the documentaries. Let me tell you about TV, Okay. People don't know that I've turned down I've turned down 9 television offers from different production companies for Woody Overton to have his own television show. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why I turned it down. And I'm not even going to tell you what, because I went out for one, and it was during the height of COVID. And I'm listed as an investigative producer, and it's on Discovery ID. And there's a reason I'm not going to tell you which one. It's because I'm fucking embarrassed of it. But I went out for this media company, and I did these interviews, and you don't see me in interviews. You see the people that I'm interviewing. So what you do is at the interview, I'd ask them the question, and they would repeat the question and give the answer. So in any of these things you see on Oxygen or ID or whatever, or even like me on Dateline, when they had asked me a question, or you didn't hear the question asked to me, I would just state a question and give the answer. Well, that's how it's done. TV is so fucking whack, y'all. And after that experience I turned down 9 different offers from media production companies to do my own show because I don't want to fuck with it. And on the one that I went out on, I shit you not, we went in front of this bad guy's high school, and I had to wait with photographers and shit, and they filmed like fucking 3 hours outside the school, not people, just the fucking school. And then the final cut, they didn't even use it. They call it B-roll footage or whatever. With the interviews I would do, and these people, holy fuck, they spent 4 hours one time. And that was height of COVID, so the big producers could be there, but they had the other ones there. And this is a hotel room with a couch, 2 chairs, one for me being an interview, and one that I interviewed like 3 different, I guess you would call them witnesses, the 3 different people in the same room. They spent 3 or 4 hours calling back and forth to their headquarters and rearranging the motherfucking furniture in a hotel room. Okay. Looking at it through the camera, and look, it's not fucking 10 feet across. It's like a jail cell. And they move lamps, they move tables, they move chairs, and they would take videos of it and send it back. And then we'd get ready to start. And then the big wigs would call back from the production company and be like, no, move this and try this and do that. And ultimately, what I'm telling you is, I can't say it for all of them because I think Dateline and those are definitely legit. Some of them, then I'm thinking the smaller media companies, if you will, that try to paint these stories, they certainly do it in a way that will sell, right? They do it. They're biased. A lot of them are biased. Like these 3 documentaries, I can find biases from each side in the different ones. It's like the first one comes out, and then they have another one that comes out that kind of responds and slaps everything the first one said, right? And then this third one now that's come out with Scott, whatever, same shit, different day. Fuck TV. I don't believe that, and I know you're not getting the true narrative of the Scott Peterson case by just watching those documentaries. And of course, I get it. Everybody wants to have their on-demand streaming shit and watch the documentaries. But I would urge you on these things, these high-profile cases, take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of the shit is it's scorched in itself, meaning that they make it look the way they want it to look, and they leave out shit that doesn't fit their narrative. I've seen it. And I've seen it happen, and I don't fuck with them. I do it on the right ones, like, the Dateline and shit like that. They're not going to do that. They're going to tell the truth, because the story, if the truth is, if my motherfucking story isn't good enough for you, then I don't want to cover it. I'm not going to get on TV and lie for you or anybody else, right? The truth is almost always way better than anything you could print up or come up with in your mind, and you don't need to slant it. So take these documentaries about Lacey and Scott, with a grain of salt and try to figure out, when you watch them, which angle this one's coming from. All right. And it's just so much that's left out of them, y'all. That's why I'm doing this Scorched series. Anyway, I'm running long. Wrap it up for this week. And you know what? I wish Roy and Kristen and Louisiana Funeral Services had handled Lacey and Connor's bodies, because the autopsies they do there are top notch, right? And I forget, like 40 something parishes, all the law enforcement agencies use them for their autopsies. Also, the only independent place. Only place in the state of Louisiana you can get an independent autopsy done, which is, if you don't believe your family member died the way that the cops are saying, you have a right to do that, right? And so go to LouisianaFuneralServices.com or call them, and they're the best. I wish that Roy's people had done these autopsies, because it's now, that's why the Innocence Project's involved and all that. And we'll get to that. It wouldn't have been, right? Or it would have been handled a different way. LouisianaFuneralServices.com. Unfortunately, if you need them, they're the best people in the world, y'all. And call Roy and Kristen. And they have the most amazing, the Louisiana, they take care of your pets. The Louisiana Pet Crematory. .com, and they look. I've gone to the facility. I've been in their autopsy rooms, and there was an autopsy going on when I was there. Right, the pet side of the thing. Jim Chapman has used them. Mike Agravino used them on getting a keepsake for one of his dogs that passed. People love their pets, right? But they have everything in the world that they can do to memorialize your pet. But the one thing that they have that separates them from anybody else is they actually care, right? And Roy's been in the business forever, and they're the best people. And if something ever happens to me, y'all make sure my body goes to Roy and Kristen underneath that humongous American flag in Broussard, Louisiana. LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. It's my jam. The people are dying every day, y'all, waiting on these organ transplants, and there's just not enough of them. Because the chances that your organs are going to get used, it has to be certain criteria that's met, and it very seldom happens, but people are dying because they don't get the transplants. Right. And I've been blessed enough to meet so many of the heroes' families, the people who donated the organs, and I've met the people that are alive because they received the organs. And so it's important. Sign up to be an organ donor and be a hero. You don't have to be a lifer from Louisiana to sign up for LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, a nonprofit, y'all. You could be a lifer from down under in Australia. Go to lopa.org, take 2 minutes, fill out the questionnaire, become a hero. They're the best, right? LOPA takes care of these families before and after, both families, the hero families and the recipients' families. But anyway, they're the best, and I love them. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder by You. Peace. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?